Hey, this is Marcus Washington, MTC Media, with your Georgetown, Syracuse pregame. The Hoyas are heading to the place formerly known as the Carrier Dome to face old rival Syracuse. Georgetown comes in with a 7-2 record. Consequently, their two losses are against the only two power conference teams they played. They lost to Notre Dame at home, which they did not look too good. And against West Virginia, they looked good for about 35, 36 minutes before things kind of came off. But if you look on the floor where this program was last season to where this program is this season, it's not even comparable. Georgetown's in such a better place with a freshman star in a waiting in Thomas Sorber and veterans like Micah Peavy. Syracuse come into this game 5-4, coming off a win against Albany, which had followed a loss in their ACC opener against Notre Dame. Their four losses are Notre Dame, Texas, Texas Tech, and Tennessee. So the schedule's been a little bit more challenging for the Cuse, but I'm sure they're happy certainly to be back home. They were home for the Albany game, and having Georgetown come in as an old Big East rival should have the crowd ripping and raring to go, even if some of the crowd doesn't even remember the glory years of this rivalry. But up next, what we have for you is media availability was on Wednesday at the Thompson Center. You will see my interviews coming up next. Coach Battle, is there something that has jumped off when you've watched films of Syracuse that they do particularly well that you guys know that you're going to have to address come game time?
Yeah, they're long, they're athletic. Lampkin's playing really good for them. He's a playmaker, he's like a point center. So we're aware of that. Bell's a talented shooter. Jair Davis is playing well for them as well. We know him pretty well. We recruited him, played for us here at Providence, so we're aware of his abilities as well. So we understand the challenge. They're active on the glass. We're going to have to rebound the ball. We have to play physical and bring our defense to, on the road as well.
And their physicality, they can be physical, very physical defensively. I know in their game against Notre Dame, they try to be physical with their guards and with their wings. Do you think this team is at a point now where they can respond to that physicality?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to. We watched the end of the game against West Virginia. We had some breakdowns. We could have been a little bit more physical. So we have to do that as well, especially on the road. It's a tough place to play. We understand that. Tough environment. We're going to have to back up, bring our defense with us, but we're definitely going to have to be physical on both ends of the ball, actually.
So what have you seen that's jumped out to you about Syracuse and about their front court and the challenges that they will present for you guys?
I know they have a very good front court with Donnie Freeman and Eddie Lampkin, I think his name is. Mm-hmm. So we just looking to, try to contain them guys, keep them under a certain amount of points, and just try to play our game.
What was there some learning lessons from the West Virginia game that you personally learned? I know you had 4 fouls. That third one was a little squirrely. But what did you learn, and how do you think it's making you a better player through this process?
To not just take possessions for granted, don't just waste possessions. You gotta take each possession into care. Execute each possession, execute each offensive play, and just to keep playing defense around. Just to keep playing defense, just to keep getting stops and getting out on transition.
You talk about the hunger on this team. How much does it help that you guys have such good competition against each other in practice?
A lot. So it makes the game easier than practice. We've been pushing each other for a long time now, since early summer, since the whole summer. So I think just all the work we do in the weight room, I think everything has just been adding up. And I think every game we've gotten better. So we just try to continue to work, bump that up, just get as much better as we can, so we can be ready for Big East play coming up.
And when you've watched film and the coaches broke down film for you for Syracuse. What was it that jumped out about their front court, and what challenges do they, present for you?
I mean, they're versatile, they're athletic, they got a big banger inside. They got some guys who can do a couple different things. Just got to take away their strengths. Because we got a lot of versatility on our end. We got a lot of guys who can do a lot of things. So none of that is something we can't take away. So we just focus on the strengths and take advantage of it on the other end.
When you watch films of Syracuse, what was the one or two things that jumped out at you that you felt like they do well?
They play through their fours very well. Davis off the bench, sometimes he starts, but a very good player. Lampkin can pass the ball for a big guy, and then Donnie Freeman can play as well. Good freshman. So the way that they play through their fours, and then their shooters on the wing as well, more freshmen. So. And Bell as well.
And you talked about the guards and how you guys are confident whenever you guys get on foot that you can match up. Syracuse, and I'll say it, you don't have to say it, they do tend to foul a lot. Do you see opportunities where you guys can be able to leverage some of the things that you do to be successful against them?
Yeah, I feel like we should be able to play our game. If the refs call fouls, then we should be able to get to the free throw line, but we're going to play our game. It's a physical brain, something that we practice a lot. We don't really get a lot of foul calls in practice, so just being able to play our brand and hopefully being able to impose our will and come out with a victory for sure.
Comparing kind.
Welcome back for our Georgetown preview of the upcoming Syracuse game up there at Syracuse. We're going to now look at the keys for victory for the Hoyas, and the first thing it's going to be is turn Syracuse into a perimeter shooting team from the three-point line. Syracuse is last in the ACC in 3 points made, 3 points attempt, and they are 16th in three-point percentage. This is not a three-point shooting team, which is odd because last season Chris Bell shot 42% from the three-point line on an average of about 6.3 3-point attempts per game. So it was a legitimate stat. He's shooting 25% this year. So I don't know if Syracuse thinks he's due or what that situation is. But certainly this team is not going to shoot you out the gym as long as you can test and play with some common sense. I'm not saying leave them alone and let them shoot it all day, but that is certainly not their strength. So if Georgetown can stay with the defensive discipline and force those shots into contested shots or force those shots into contested twos, certainly that's would bode well for the Hoyas. Get to the line. If Georgetown is physical, driving the ball to the basket, physical, getting offensive rebounds and trying to stick back, they're going to shoot free throws. This is the same team that allowed Notre Dame to have 21 free throws in the second half. And no, these were not free throws taken because you're fouling at the end and that increases the count. Absolutely, positively not. They just flat out could not guard. And they had horrendous angles. And when guys like Ty Davis and other guys on Notre Dame took the ball to the basket, they had no choice. Syracuse had no choice but to foul. So it's going to be interesting to see how Syracuse plays Georgetown. Because against Notre Dame, I thought that their angles, their defend angles, and their on-ball angles were just awful. I thought they crowded too much on the ball handler, which ended up creating all these gaps, which left shooters like Braden Shrewsbury wide open, which makes absolutely positively no sense. To put it nicely, at times Syracuse's defense is so undisciplined, and because they're undisciplined, that is a perfect chance for Georgetown to have opportunities to get to the free throw line and run that free throw count up. Last but not least, the Hoyas will need to find a way to contain Donnie Freeman and Jair Davis. In Freeman's case, he's going to probably he's the one that's more of the threat from a couple of levels. He can make threes. He's not a three-point shooter. He can make threes, but everyone knows what his game is. His game is one dribble, let's get to the front of the rim. His game is, hey, fill those lanes and get to the front of the rim. And the thing that he does is on penetration. He does such a great job at getting to the angle of the ball in the paint. And it allows him to get the dunk finishes that you've seen. He runs the wing hard, which allows him to get the finishes that you've seen. Can he make threes? Yes. Is he a three-point shooter? No. My thing with him is you clog him up and you make him take tough twos. You clog him up and make him use his athleticism trying to make a tough two, from 12, 13, 15 feet. And that's the way to deal with him. With Davis is more physical below the dashes. Syracuse does a good job trying to run actions that'll get him to a two-man side and kind of ISO him in the box and a little bit above the box. And then he wants to use, even if he has to use multiple dribbles, he'll turn his back to you, so he's comfortable playing with his back to the basket. And then it looks like old Charles Barkley in Phoenix. Then he's going to try to back you down, even if it takes multiple dribbles to back you down. And look, he can pass out of that if you double. So it's not one of these guys that's a bull in the china shop and he's just looking down and he's already made up his mind. He can throw passes and he does recognize where things are coming from. So, you got to be cognizant of that. He will also, if he's in that wing, the top area, he will also get it and he'll square. And when he squares, he wants to get 2 feet in the paint and rise up for a 2-point jump shot. He will pull up in the lane from 8 to 10 feet. He will pull up. So again, it goes down to make it a tough two. Jam the lane up and make it a tough two for Davis. And then you cannot, with either one of them, you cannot lose them if they're on weak side, because they will weak side rebound and they will weak side stick back. So those are things that Georgetown needs to be cognizant of. So there is your keys in your pregame show for Syracuse. Good to see Georgetown gets an old rival on the road. This is a great chance for the Hoyas to get a road win against a power conference team. They just need to execute. Marcus Washington, MTC Media.